Remember my little chart of 17 to 32? I said he can only go certain places. So they were going to bury him behind Lamar Jackson. For people saying he was going to go to Philadelphia, they were going to bury him behind Jalen Hurts. They thought they were going to bury him behind somebody in Cleveland, but it ain't working out. Flacco is 0 for 2. And Dillon got in the game at the last minute, and they set him up with 3 for 3 and a little touchdown to Dylan Sampson, the running back, like I told y'all they was going to do. I told you they wouldn't put Dillon out there till Quinshon Judkins came back. And he gets out there at the end of the game, and they want to make him look like the hero. Well, let me see you starting. All they're going to do is hand off the ball to Quinshon Judkins, and that's cool if that's what you want to do. But don't sit up there and lie that Shedeur ain't good. You just don't want to have Shedeur as your starting quarterback. And remember, the NFL said what? Before the draft. See, the NFL should just shh. Because remember, the same insiders that sat down and told you that Shedeur passed on the Ravens were the same insiders that told you Shedeur was the number 2 overall pick to Cleveland, which means Cleveland know who the hell Shedeur is. So why they pretending like he's not good? For the same reason that Adam Schefter sat there and told you that he was difficult by saying he didn't want to go to the Ravens. No, he didn't want to be buried behind another black quarterback like so many other black quarterbacks are. And I don't blame him. Duh. He was supposed to be a first-round pick. They scouted him with the first-round pick. And then they want to do a little bait and switch during the draft. Just because you're telling on yourself. You lied and said somebody for the Falcons gave out his phone number and made a phone call. Well, that ain't true. In fact, the Ole Miss sweatshirt guy ties right on back to the New York Giants, who was the only team to defame Shedeur, who Pat Schumer used to work for, by the way. Let's not get lost on that. It's documented from the anonymous source that Shedeur Sanders changed Pat Schumer's plays, and the NFL don't seem to like that. And now, Coach Prime looked like he's being set up by the same Pat Schumer. So it seemed like the NFL to creep their way over to Colorado, and they're meddling because they want to dictate who comes out of these colleges at quarterback. And Coach Prime currently has 3 black quarterbacks out of 5. And you see, supposedly the boosters over there meddling, trying to force up style, and he's not good. And what does that do for Coach Prime? We're going to talk about it tomorrow. Stay tuned. I read his contract. So the NFL is telling on itself. As people come out and tell the truth, they trying to make Shedeur look difficult. Who they trying to convince? Nobody believes Shedeur is a difficult person. Everybody sees he's getting, whether you want to say a raw deal, being done dirty, he's being colluded against in Cleveland. Everybody knows Shedeur is better than Flacco, and Flacco was only good for half a season. It tickled me to hear the analysts associated with the Browns organization of podcasters complain about Kevin Stefanski's generic play calling. I said, because he came from Pat Schumer, so what did you expect? Same thing going on in Colorado. Same thing. So the NFL is telling on itself, and it's telling lies. First, the defensive coordinator's son and the Atlanta Falcons gave out Shedeur number. That ain't true. It's the New York Giants, somebody associated with some inside info. Supposedly, the daughter of the boyfriend. Now, nobody had a first-round grade on him. That ain't true. At least 3 teams had a first-round grade on it. And we already know they wanted Mike Tomlin to pick him to be what? QB2, which tells you even in the first round, when most quarterbacks go on inherent QB1, they were going to hold him back from the jump. They had planned from the very beginning before the draft to devalue Shedeur Sanders. I mean, they were bold enough to have Mel Kiper Jr. go on ESPN and say the NFL don't want quarterbacks like Shedeur. The NFL don't want quarterbacks like Shedeur Sanders now, that kind of quarterback. And we know they're not talking about pocket passer or dual threat, because look what they got now. Look what was drafted before him and after him. So we know they're not talking about his skill set. And we watched him ball out. with that skill set that they said was going to outproduce his draft stock. So the NFL is telling us they knew before the draft that he was not going to be picked in the first round because they locked him out. Well, they didn't do a good job of locking him out, because now some people coming out and saying that ain't true. And Haslam told you, if you would have told me he was going to get drafted, I would have been like, oh, he confirmed it for you. They thought they locked him out. And since they didn't want him, what they're guilty of is trying to exploit him for views and humiliate him and exclude him, which is nothing but tactics from Jim Crow, which is just straight racism. I mean, how many lawsuits for violating Black people's civil rights does the NFL have to get before it learns to stop being racist against Black quarterbacks? This is not a new phenomenon. They did it to Lamar Jackson. No coincidence they want to send Shedeur over there with Lamar. Just like it's not a coincidence that they compared Lamar Jackson to Geno Smith, which meant he was going to be a voyager and travel around the league and never have a home base and get called trash, and they was going to kick him out. But like Geno Smith said, they wrote me off, but I ain't right back. And we already know Cleveland going to go through every quarterback on their damn roster before they get to Shedeur. That's your business. That's between you and your damn fans. If they want to sit up there and pay for you to play in their face, that's on y'all. That's on them fans and them analysts that are shocked by Kevin Stefanski's generic play calling. How are you shocked? He's not new there. Like, what is it going to take for them to wise up that these people playing in their face? They went and got a Black former NFL player to be a partner. Where is he? How come we don't see him no more? It's funny that he came out conveniently around the time of the draft, so you wouldn't think what they was getting ready to do to Shedeur was racist. Just using people like Andrew Berry as a token or a pawn to hide your dirty work. But Haslam already told you he didn't want him, so why you get it? We know why he didn't go to the Ravens. Why are we not hearing anybody come out that they were going to get him at the end of the first round or in the middle of the second or the third? Because you're confirming that you devalued him, and by the fifth round, the sense of urgency kicked in, and you was finding somewhere for him to go, so you was going to bury him on certain teams behind another Black quarterback and in that division, because you wasn't going to put him over there with Josh Allen. Sure wasn't. You ain't going to put him over there with Pat Mahomes either. And apparently you weren't going to put him anywhere in the NFC. It had to be either where Cleveland is, Baltimore is. But it's funny how it couldn't be Pittsburgh, but it could be Baltimore. Why it couldn't be Pittsburgh? Because remember, he was supposed to go 21 to Pittsburgh. Why it had to be Baltimore? Because Steve Pittsburgh got rid of their quarterbacks. So he would have been QB1. And if Aaron Rodgers had already signed his contract, which he had not at the time, supposedly said he wasn't going there. Whether he said it or not, the point is they risked losing Aaron Rodgers if they drafted Shedeur. Regardless if he said it or not, that's the impression that was given. So he blocked that spot. Aaron Rodgers, just like Derek Carr did in New Orleans, he retired after the draft. Because had he retired before, Derek Carr retired before the draft, Shedeur could have went right over there to the Saints, because they were like, we don't need a franchise QB. But then Derek Carr leaves after the draft. You see? A lot of people blocking Shedeur.